Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm really excited for today's deep dive because we're going to be talking about something that you guys have been requesting for like forever. Yeah, blockchain and NFTs, and more specifically, how these technologies are like totally shaking things up in the legal world. So to really get to the bottom of this, you sent over this excerpt from Blockchain and NFTs, the complete guide that lawyers must read. And just even skimming through it, I was thinking like, wow, this stuff is really pretty fascinating. I'm so curious to hear what our expert thinks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, right from the beginning, this guide calls blockchain and NFTs game changers
Yeah.
for lawyers. And I think that what makes that so compelling is that these technologies, they really address some fundamental challenges in law, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to trust and transparency.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that too. It dives straight into the blockchain basics, and it highlights features like transparency and immutability. Imagine a world, where every single legal document and transaction is permanently recorded on a public ledger, that can't be tampered with.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it from a lawyer's perspective, you're dealing with contracts, with evidence, chain of custody, like so much hinges on proving the authenticity and the integrity of information. And blockchain, like by its very design,
Yeah.
it solves a lot of those problems.
Yeah, and that's what I found like so cool. The guide uses this phrase digital detective's dream, and I think it's really not an exaggeration. No more he said, she said, because every single action is recorded and time-stamped. It's like having this like unbreakable chain of evidence.
Totally. And think about even, the implications for things like intellectual property disputes. Right now, proving ownership of a digital asset, can be a total nightmare. But then with NFTs, you've got this undeniable proof of ownership that's tracked on an absolutely immutable ledger. It could like revolutionize how we even think about copyright and trademarks in the digital age, you know?
Okay, so let's break down NFTs a little bit more here. The guide defines them as, I'm quoting here, unique digital tokens that prove ownership. But what makes them different from, say, Bitcoin? I think I'm still like wrapping my head around the whole non-fungible part.
Yeah, so the way I explain it is this, like Bitcoin is like a dollar bill, right?
Hmm.
Every dollar is basically the same, interchangeable. But an NFT is like a one-of-a-kind piece of art. It's totally unique and can't be replaced with something else. And because it's tied to the blockchain, you have this like it's ironclad record of ownership and authenticity.
So in a legal context, could you use an NFT to like represent ownership of, let's say, a patent or a piece of real estate?
Absolutely. And the guide actually dives into some like really fascinating use cases. Like imagine a world where real estate deeds are tokenized as NFTs. Property transfers could happen, instantly, cutting down on all the paperwork and middlemen. It could be a huge win for efficiency and security.
That's wild. And I also remember reading about artists, like artists using NFTs to make sure they get paid fairly for their work. Like,
Yeah.
royalties could be automatically distributed through smart contracts that are embedded in the NFT, right?
That's right. And it goes even beyond just artists. Think about musicians, writers, anyone who creates intellectual property.
Mm.
NFTs could give them much more control over their work and how it's monetized. It's like a whole new model for creative ownership.
And the guide also touches on using NFTs to authenticate documents, like, contracts. I guess that would just totally eliminate the risk of forgery, right?
Yeah, that's one of the most like promising applications. Like imagine a contract where the terms are recorded on the blockchain and the signatures are actually verified using NFTs. Yeah. You would have this, tamper-proof record that could be instantly verified by anyone. It could like drastically reduce fraud and disputes.
Okay, so it sounds like, we've got this amazing tech that can track ownership, that can verify authenticity, that can even automate agreements. The potential benefits for lawyers are huge, but I'm kind of curious to hear, like, what are some of the specific ways this is already playing out, in the real world?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the guide highlights some really cool examples.
Yeah.
So in Dubai, they're already using blockchain technology for real estate transactions. It's completely streamlined the entire process, making it faster, more transparent, and just less prone to errors.
That's amazing. So they're really like actually using this stuff in real world legal scenarios. It's not just some, futuristic concept anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're just scratching the surface here. There are companies developing platforms for digital notarization
Right.
using blockchain. Imagine being able to get a document notarized instantly without even having to track down a notary public.
Oh man, that would save so much time and hassle. I'm
Wow.
starting to see why the guide calls this like a milestone for the legal profession. It feels like, we're on the cusp of a really major shift.
Yeah, it really feels like a new era, you know?
Yeah.
And what's striking to me is how the guide emphasizes that this isn't just like, making small improvements, but like blockchain and NFTs have the potential to fundamentally change how we even approach law in the digital age.
Oh, I totally agree. They even use some strong language, talking about a paradigm shift, a new legal order.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, what does this mean for the future of lawyers, like, and the entire legal system?
Right. Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the guide kind of suggests we'll see a rise in specialization, like with lawyers becoming experts in areas like smart contract law, blockchain compliance, and NFT-related litigation.
So instead of like a general corporate lawyer, you might have someone who like specializes in, I don't know, like the legal aspects of fractionalized ownership of digital assets using NFTs. That sounds super niche.
Exactly. And think about even, the implications for law schools. Are they preparing students for this new reality? Like we could even see entire courses dedicated to blockchain and its legal ramifications.
Yeah. It's
Huh.
exciting to think about like the career paths that might open up, right? I mean, imagine being a lawyer who helps draft legislation around blockchain governance or advises companies on how to navigate the legal complexities of the metaverse.
Right. That's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about understanding the tech, right? It's about applying legal principles to this rapidly evolving space. Think about privacy laws, intellectual property rights, even criminal law.
Mm.
How do these things adapt to a world where assets and transactions exist on a decentralized ledger?
Yeah, right. It's like this whole new frontier of like legal challenges and opportunities. And I think the guide mentions the need for like digital fluency among lawyers, and it sounds like they'll need to be comfortable with these technologies to like effectively advise their clients.
Absolutely. And it even, goes beyond just lawyers, paralegals, legal assistants, even judges. Everyone involved in the legal process will need to have at least some level of understanding of these technologies just to keep up.
Yeah. The guide seems pretty optimistic about the future, but it does raise some questions about potential challenges. Like, how do we regulate the space? The technology's evolving so quickly. Can the law even keep pace?
That's a critical point. We're already seeing this play out with things like, cryptocurrency regulations. It's a very complex issue, trying to balance innovation with consumer protection and preventing illicit activities.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about some concerns around NFTs and like money laundering. Is that something that lawyers will need to be aware of?
Definitely. I mean, the anonymity and the decentralized nature of blockchain, they present challenges for law enforcement and regulatory bodies. Lawyers will need to be up to date on the latest compliance measures and best practices to ensure that their clients aren't, running afoul of any laws.
And it sounds like there are ethical considerations as well, right? For
Right.
example, what do we do about access to justice in a world where legal services are increasingly delivered through technology?
That's a crucial point. We need to make sure that these technological advancements don't exacerbate existing inequalities. How do we ensure access to legal representation for those who aren't, tech savvy or who lack access to the necessary infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a reminder that technology it is a tool, and it's up to us to use it responsibly and ethically. But despite those challenges, I mean, the overall tone of the guide is pretty positive, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, they see blockchain and NFTs as having a net positive impact on the legal profession. It's about making the system more efficient, more transparent, and more accessible. It's about empowering individuals and creators.
And I love that. It's not just about big corporations or tech giants, right? But these technologies have the potential to level the playing field in some ways, giving individuals more control over their assets and their data.
Exactly. Think about small businesses and entrepreneurs. Blockchain and NFTs could really simplify things like contract negotiations, intellectual property management, and even fundraising. It could open up, a lot of new opportunities.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential, the challenges, and the opportunities. But what does this all mean for our listener, the lawyer, navigating this new landscape? What advice would you give them based on this guide?
Well, I think the first thing is to just stay informed. The technology is constantly evolving, so it's essential to keep up with the latest developments. Read articles, attend conferences, engage with online communities. There are tons of resources out there.
And don't be afraid to experiment, right? The guide even mentions legal tech incubators and blockchain sandboxes. It seems like there's a lot of room for innovation and experimentation in this space.
That's right. Don't be afraid to try new things, to test out different platforms, and to see how these technologies can be integrated into your practice. And most importantly, just be open to learning from others.
So true. Collaboration and, knowledge sharing, that's going to be key.
Yeah.
And the guide, seems to suggest that lawyers who embrace this change, who see it as an opportunity rather than a threat, will be the ones who thrive.
I think that's a great takeaway. This is a time of tremendous change and opportunity in the legal profession. Lawyers who are adaptable, tech-savvy, and willing to push boundaries, they're going to be at the forefront of this exciting new era.
It's almost like, we're watching the legal landscape like being rewritten in real time, you know? It's pretty mind-blowing. And I have to say, I'm feeling really inspired after diving into this guide.
Me too. And I think that's the beauty of these technologies. They're not just about efficiency or automation. They're about empowering people, creating new possibilities, and ultimately making the legal system work better for everyone.
It feels like we've only just like scratched the surface here. But this guide has really like sparked my imagination. Like what's really sticking with me is how they emphasize, like how they say that this isn't just like an option for the legal sector. It's like it's a necessity, It makes you think about what the legal landscape will even look like in like 5, 10 years.
Right. And I think what's really fascinating is how they argue that lawyers who don't embrace these technologies, they risk they risk being left behind. That's a pretty bold statement, but I think it really underscores just how transformative blockchain and NFTs could be for the profession.
Yeah, and I wonder if we'll see like a shift in legal education, right? Will law schools will they need to like revamp their curriculums to focus more on, technology and its legal implications?
I think that's inevitable. We're already seeing some law schools offer courses on blockchain and cryptocurrency law, but I think this needs to go further. It's not just about specialized courses, but it's about integrating these concepts into the core curriculum.
Yeah, it makes sense. Contract law, property law, evidence, all of these areas they're going to be impacted by blockchain technology.
Totally. And imagine even the role of like legal tech startups in all of this, right? Like
Yeah.
they're going to be developing the tools and the platforms that lawyers use to interact with blockchain and NFTs.
Yeah, it's like a whole new ecosystem is like emerging, We're going to need lawyers who understand the tech, developers who understand the law, and entrepreneurs who can like bridge the gap between the two.
That's a great point. And I think it creates opportunities for collaboration and innovation. We could see like law firms partnering with tech companies to develop new solutions, or even like creating their own in-house legal tech teams.
And what about the clients, right?
Yeah.
How do you think this will change like the way they interact with lawyers?
Well, I think clients are going to demand more tech-savvy legal advice. They're going to want lawyers who can help them navigate the complexities of blockchain and NFTs and the metaverse.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like as these technologies become more mainstream, clients are going to need lawyers who can like understand their implications and help them make informed decisions.
And it's not just about understanding the technology, but it's about being able to explain it in a way that clients can understand. Lawyers they'll need to be skilled communicators, able to translate complex, technical concepts into plain language.
This guide has given me a lot to think about. I mean, it's pretty clear that blockchain and NFTs are going to have a profound impact on the legal profession, right?
Totally. And I think, the key takeaway for lawyers is to embrace the change. Don't be afraid to learn new things, to experiment with new technologies, and to think creatively about how these tools can be used to solve legal problems and improve the way we practice law.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I have to say this deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I feel like, I have a much better grasp of how blockchain and NFTs are really like changing the legal landscape.
It's been a pleasure diving into this, guys, with you.
Yeah.
It's always exciting to explore these, emerging technologies and think about the implications for for the future.
And for you listening, I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, whether you're a lawyer or a student or just someone who's curious about the, future of law, this is a conversation that's worth, continuing.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning of the journey, you know. Keep learning, keep exploring, and be a part of shaping the future of law in the digital age.
Ah, that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this, this fascinating deep dive. We'll be back soon with another exploration of the ideas that are shaping our world. Until then, stay curious.